Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Agent Advantage podcast with Michaela and Emily. Today, we're diving into the habits that you build every day that can help you build a thriving real estate business and stay ahead of the game, no matter what. Success in real estate isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter. You've probably heard this in your day-to-day life, and it's very applicable in your real estate practice. And your daily habits are building blocks of this. We're going to break today's episode up into 5 different parts like we did for last week's episode. And we're just going to talk about the different building blocks for habits, what we think is important as agents. Emily, being in the business for 8 years, definitely has a lot of habits that she's implemented in her own life and with agents on her team and agents that she's coached. So we're definitely going to dive into that as well. The first part of this is just going over why habits matter in real estate. So real estate, if you've been in the business, you know this, but if you're new, real estate is very unpredictable. But habits create consistency within this and can help you stay on course no matter what happens. They help you stay focused, organized, and productive, even on chaotic days, which are more often than not. And one quote I want to start off is a quote from Aristotle. It's, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit." And I think that's kind of a good way to start this episode because it's so true. And I love Aristotle, as Emily knows.
She really is.
The power of building daily habits is a mindset for habit building is going to be our first step. Focus on progress, not perfection. This is what Em and I talk about constantly in personal life and business life. If you don't start somewhere, if you get bogged down by the idea of perfection, you're never going to get anywhere, right, Em? I mean, we've talked
And
about this so many times.
also something I want to add to that is imperfect action will always trump perfect inaction. So what I mean by that is imperfect execution, action is always going to be better and excel you more and higher than perfect inaction. And you're not taking action because it's got to be perfect. So if it takes you 5 days to perfect a video where you could have just gotten an imperfect video out each day for 5 days, you've reached more people than you have with that perfect video. That's just my take on it. I've been told that by another master guru of Google and Facebook. He's actually an insurance agent. He has an insurance podcast. So I'll just go and give him a shout out. His name's Bradley Flowers. That's who I learned that from. And he has built a very successful insurance business. And that has really stuck with me.
And that's great. And you've instilled that in me as well, which is something I need because I have ADHD. I'm a perfectionist. I was a gymnast, a cheerleader, all of that kind of translated over into my professional life. And it is debilitating sometimes to try to be perfect. So doing something versus nothing at all is always going to win time and time
Oh,
again.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and kind of building off of that, you can start small and build. Add more over time. Start with one thing, and then after a few weeks, add one more thing to it. It's all about consistency.
I've heard someone call that habit stacking recently, like starting with one habit, and doing it for a period of time. Like even if it's just like something small, even if it's like 3 days or 7 days. And it has to be like the smallest, easiest habit, and then stack another one, and then stack another one. I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, yeah. And I use habit stacking for my personal life. And so I think putting it into your business life too, especially kicking off 2025, this episode is going to help you figure out where to start and how to navigate this as you move into the new year.
What and this may be off of your very beautiful outline that you have here, but what are you wanting to or get better at or do more of in 2025? I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a great question. The biggest thing I want to implement this year is going to be my morning routine and sticking to a morning routine, whatever that looks like. And again, it's going to be different for every single person, but for me, I want to find a time that makes sense to wake up and to get my stuff done. I have gotten so out of a routine this year when it comes to my morning routine because I am a night person. And so that's something I want to focus on this year.
For
And
those
you
of
know
you
this because
guys
we
who
live
do not
together.
know, I'm a morning person, and Michaela here is a night owl, and she loves the evening and the night.
Hmm.
Um, and where I am right now, what time it is 7:25, and I've caught myself yawning like 3 times before we started. My son's gonna go to bed soon, and I honestly wish I could be there with him, and it's only 7:25 on a Friday night.
And it's different for me because I'm like, I'm ready to go. I could work for another 5 hours.
That is so crazy.
I know. Emily, it's so funny. When we were talking about morning routines, Emily actually was the person who got me into morning routines and the whole idea of conquering your morning, conquering your hardest things the first part of the day. I mean, Emily used to wake up at 5 a.m. and blast Eminem or some sort of encouraging music first thing in the morning, and she did it, and she was up, and she was ready to attack the day first thing. And I always thought that that was such a cool thing about you and your business, and it's just not something that I've quite mastered. There's ebbs and flows, so that's something I
Maybe
want to work on in
maybe you
2025.
can maybe you can just, ask Alexa to play Eminem or
Yeah.
Kevin Gates or
Yeah.
I used to have whenever, so for some reason on my Alexa, little sidebar really quick, whenever I ask her to set an alarm for 5 minutes or whatever, it starts off with Mambo number five, if y'all know that song, and or Mambo number five, whatever. Do you know that song, Michaela?
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm like, I must have put this on there a long time ago. Where I'm like, hey, wake me up to this. I think it was my morning alarm a long time ago.
I believe it. I believe it. Do you have any goals for the new year regarding your business or regarding
So,
habits?
um, I actually used to enjoy running outdoors a lot. For those of you who don't know, I have ran 3 half marathons, and I just for some reason stopped running. Well, of course, life happens, like business happens and everything. And I feel that I am my best self whenever I'm outdoors running, because if I can be my best self personally, then I can show up as my best self professionally. And they say this is found in the Happiness Advantage. There was research done that showed 20 minutes outside a day with a partner, which mine wouldn't be with a partner, but 20 minutes outside a day walking with a partner, the result after 30 days is equivalent to what happens in your brain as the highest dosage of antidepressant.
Wow.
So
So
getting
maybe I should add
outside
that to
is really
mine
important.
too. Convinced me.
I didn't mean to, but I really
No,
do
I
think it's
love it.
important for us to get outside and get fresh air, get back to nature, and really just we're on the phone talking all the time, and we're in front of a screen. And guys, like I'm speaking to all real estate agents right now that like we have to prioritize non-screen time and to just literally stop and enjoy life and nature, your friends, your family, the relationships that you have created, guys. It's not all about the next dollar and the next dollar, because you're losing so much when you're only chasing the dollar. The goal is to get good enough. The goal is to do that for a period of time and to get good enough and to be experienced enough to be faster when you're working. That way you can make more of an impact outside of your work, like with your family and
Mhm.
your friends and your colleagues, the relationships that you have formed. I've recently kind of been convicted on that, because quality time is not my love language. And I know this is a sidebar, so we're going to get back on topic, but guys, really take time to invest also in your personal life, because when you grow personally and develop personally, your business will grow without a doubt.
100%. 100%. Yeah. And since we're talking about morning routines, maybe we can just kind of segue into building a morning
Okay.
routine and morning habits for success for our listeners.
So I usually am up by 6 a.m. If I was doing what I want to do and should do, I would probably be up at 5 a.m. The reason is because at 6 a.m. I have to have my feet on the floor. I have to get up. I have to cook. I cook my son breakfast every single morning, cook him breakfast, get him a bottle, change his diaper. Like there's a lot with that. Make coffee. And I know it sounds crazy, but I like to just sit and enjoy the news for a second, because I like to have me time, because as a real estate agent, the rest of the day is gone, and it is owed to everyone else. Everyone else is like saying, hey, do you have a minute? Hey, do you have a second? Like everyone else takes it, so I just give myself some time.
Hmm.
And I do like to read my Bible in the morning. I don't really have alone time to read my Bible in the morning because Luke wakes up at 5 a.m., 4 a.m. sometimes, then wakes back up at 6. So it is, yeah. I'm not going to use that as a crutch and say, well, I just need more sleep because I do. But guess what I can do? I can go to sleep earlier at night when he goes to sleep. And that's what I have been doing to be able to get more sleep because sleep is extremely important, guys. Your brains literally need to rest. You need to rest. So I know if I can't get my time in the mornings because he has to be at daycare at a certain time, I'm going to make that time up. And that's
Mhm.
what the message is that I'm giving to you. Stop saying, oh, I can't wake up that early. We'll go to bed earlier. Stop
Mhm.
starting with the hardest thing and start with the easiest thing. So, for example, I am a morning person, so it does make it a little bit easier. 6 a.m., I can wake up with a little bit of struggle, but 5 a.m. is hard for me. And I know I need to get back to doing that, wake it up even earlier. So, don't start with, I'm going to wake up at 5 tomorrow. Start instead, I'm going to go to bed 30 minutes earlier. Because naturally, you're probably going to wake up a little bit earlier. And then the next night, you're going to say, hey, I'm going to go to, let's just say you've been going to bed now at 9 p.m. instead of 10 or 9:30, whatever. Now for like a week, this is the habit stacking thing. Not necessarily habit stacking, but slowly integrating that because if you go to the extremes, you're a lot less likely to stay consistent and you're going to fall off track. Okay. So if your New Year's resolution is to wake up earlier, stop saying, I'm going to wake up earlier and start saying, I'm going to go to bed earlier.
Mhm.
It's just a
I
different
like that.
perspective.
I like
And
that.
eventually you'll actually get the same result. But it associates your brain to something differently rather than, oh, it's so hard. I can't. It's like, oh, going to bed 30 minutes earlier? Fine. It's going to be a little struggle, but it's not as going to be as hard as you waking up at 5 a or 6 a.m., right?
Mhm. Right. And
So,
and that all builds off of it, right? So you go to
yes,
bed 30 minutes earlier, maybe you wake up 30 minutes earlier and you do that for a couple weeks and then maybe you're waking up an hour early and you just keep building off of that and seeing what feels right for you in your situation.
I want to appeal to all listeners. I want to appeal to listeners who've never had kids, who don't want kids, who have older kids, who have young kids. There is a possible way for you to get in your time. It's you just win, right? You got to fit you got to fit the puzzle pieces into place. So if you don't have any young children and you do have the mornings, I've always been told this: wake up for your kids, not to your kids. So you wake up for them. You wake up before your children. If you have kids, you wake up and you get coffee started. You wake up for them. You don't wake up to them. They shouldn't be waking you up saying, Mama, Mama, unless they're my kid and they wake up 3 times in the middle of the night. And then I'm like, okay, he's awake. Let's get up. Unfortunately, that's the season that I'm in. And if you're not in that season, wake up for your kids. I can't wait for the day for me to wake up to be able to
Mhm.
wake my kid up, honestly. And
Yeah.
if you're not in that season, before I was a mom, I did still wake up earlier. Michaela kind of called me out my little M&M thing. I would love to wake up early and make your bed. I still try to make my bed now, and I have to go take my son to daycare and get us both ready. But that is the one thing where they say that when you make your bed, it's like your first accomplishment of the day. And when you feel like you've accomplished or conquered something, you feel more successful it's a be do have thing. When you be more productive, you do more productive things and you have the things that more productive people will have.
Mhm.
So you're going to get the result. It's just focusing, starting with that one thing. I actually do not get on my phone until I'm out the door. I've probably checked my messages when I woke up. So if you text me at like 10 o'clock at night, I've seen it the next morning, but I
Mhm.
don't respond because I'm not getting roped in on everyone else's time schedule. Because like I said before, once I start my day, everyone else's, my time's everyone else's.
So you have
So,
your time. And I think that's important to really highlight
mhm.
too, is have your time, whether that's reading your Bible, watching the news, journaling, doing your gratitudes, meditating, doing yoga, working out, whatever that looks like for your life, it's going to be a little bit different. But having set time in the morning is probably the easiest because you have, other things you can tackle on throughout the day as it comes. But if you're up early enough, you can kind of take that solitude and that moments to yourself to kind of reflect for the day, plan your day. I always say wake up intentionally. So when you're waking up, what are you doing? You're not on your phone. You have your things that you do, but that is going to look different for everybody. So figure out what that's going to look like. What are you doing? Handful of things that you do before you start your day.
Also, if you do exercise in the morning, it is better because it gets more blood flow. And when you have more blood flow, it pumps more blood to your brain, okay? And more oxygen to your brain. Your brain can actually work better. So when you get to the office, you're ahead of the game, right? Because you're not that person. Don't be that person who gets to the office at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. or get to your home office and open up your computer at 8 or 9 a.m. and say, oh, I'm still waking up. I'm groggy. You're already below average at that point. And the reason I say that is because the average person gets to work at 8 or 9 a.m. You're above average, get to work at 7:30 a.m. And if you're there at 8 or 9 and you can't even catch up with hold a conversation with what's going on, you can't wrap your mind around it because you have no blood flow, or you haven't had your coffee, or you've rushed out of the door and you haven't taken time to actually establish a healthy routine that's going to lead to success, then you're just like you're behind. You're behind. And again, nobody's honestly doing any work at 10 p.m. And what I mean by that is there's some people you can talk to. So if you are a night person, I get that. You just have to, it takes a little bit more work to be a morning person, and you don't even have to be a morning person. Remember, start small. But gratitude is another thing that you need to start with. I've also heard this quote before: a seed of depression cannot form or grow in a grateful heart. This business is very, very hard and sometimes can feel very lonely. And guys, we have to be grateful for what we do have. I don't care if you're broke as a joke. You probably have a roof over your head. You probably have gas in your car, or the money to do it, food to eat. It doesn't have to be elaborate things like, Lord, I'm grateful for the $50,000 I have in the bank, or all the investment properties I own. It's not that. Like, just start small. It's just about gratitude. It's not about what you're grateful for. It's just about being grateful.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, in the morning, for a good morning routine is when you're doing that, reviewing your goals, your short term and your long term. Write your goals out for the day, review what you want to do this week, what your goals are for the month, and what your goals are long term. And we talked about this with business planning as well, but keep reminding yourself of your why and your different goals that you have to achieve. Because if you're writing goals and you're sticking them in a notebook and not looking at them for 6 months, that doesn't do anything for you, right? So
Oh, yeah.
making that a habit too is going to help you in the long term.
Oh, absolutely. You need to look at your goals. And y'all, also, Benjamin Franklin once said that early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. So I will stick to an early morning routine, and I will stand by that. I really think that it helps people become more successful whenever they can wake up early and attack the day rather than letting the day attack them. My goal is to start working before people are calling me, because I don't want to be blindsided with what I want to work my day and control my business and run my business. I don't want to be on someone else's schedule. Does that make sense? I want everyone to
Mhm.
be at my schedule. And I know that sounds really bad, but I'm real weird about time. Time is one thing that you can't get back.
No, I like that because it almost gets like frustrating when you feel like you're constantly chasing or being chased by the next person or the next thing
God,
that needs you.
yes.
It can create a
Yes.
lot of resentment towards clients or towards coworkers or agents or whoever if someone's asking you something at 8 a.m., but you're still waking up and you're like, just give me a
Like,
second.
did you get that
It's
document?
frustrating.
Hey, did you get the response? Like, and I'm like, I just give me a moment? And that is not a good way or productive way to start your day when you're like, can you just give me a second? Because
Yeah.
I promise you, almost all the time, more times than not, will your day literally unravel starting just from that.
Yeah. Okay. And then so starting off, you're doing more personal habits. You're conquering your morning. You're doing all of the things to help you feel fulfilled and that you can, you know, last the entire day and get ahead of everything. And then as we move in
Yes.
from that, going into business building habits and kind of what that looks like. Everyone, again, is a little bit different, but the main points are your lead generation, your networking and relationship building, your client communication, marketing and branding. Those are all habits that you should build into your schedule, whether you're doing the important things from 9 to noon. That's your lead generation, your client follow up,
Oh, I
all
have
of the
another one to add
important
to
parts
that.
of this. Mm-hmm.
So, guys, when y'all are doing your lead generation and your lead follow up, this is a very important habit. You need to have your database pulled up, whether you have it on a CRM or you have it on a spreadsheet. I was talking with an agent today, and sometimes we all get down, like it happens. Like even me and Michaela, we're like, "Hey, where can we get some motivation?" Sometimes I'll call another fellow top producer, and I'll just be honest. I'm like, "I need some motivation," and she said, get in your database. I'm in mine right now. I'm making my calls, A&W last names," and I'm like, I just I don't know. I just don't really feel like calling them saying, "Hey, how you doing?" Like, and she said, "Emily, just get in your database and then there's going to be someone in there that's going to trigger your memory or jog your memory about something like a long time ago, maybe even 6 months ago. They asked you about something and you can say, 'Hey girl, did you ever find someone to do your lawn?'" Like it's literally that simple. And I
Yeah.
was like, she's so right. The big thing we get away from is looking at like, oh, our immediate leads, our like immediate buyers and sellers. And we get away from looking at like everyone. And we
Mm-hmm.
need to be having a bird's eye view of our contacts. So get into your CRM and have it up when you are doing your lead gen.
Mm-hmm. I like that. That's something I can implement better because it is hard. It is hard to just call random people. You feel like you're cold calling or you're being salesy, but something like that,
That
so
honestly made
simple.
that was an easy segue into I was like, you know what? I will get into my contacts. And then it made me think of people who have even may have commented on your status and said congratulations. Maybe you can go thank
Mhm.
them. Like anything that you've achieved, or you saw that maybe you forgot that you saw their sister at the Walmart a month ago. And you could be
Mhm.
like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot to tell you I saw your sister at Walmart a month ago. What is she doing over here on the side of town?" Guys, anything like that, it's gonna trigger your memory once you start reading it, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that creates habits too. If you're looking at A and W last names once a day and then you go to B and whatever, that creates the habit of talking to 2 to 3 people a day. That's super easy. Making those connections, whether it's a handwritten note like we've talked about before, or it's commenting on someone's Facebook or giving someone a call, all of those things are habits that you build into your business that become natural and you'll see it grow just from that. I like that point a lot. And I think that anyone, no matter where you're at in your business, you can take something away from that in itself.
Yeah, I like how you put on here making a habit to connect with 2 to 3 people a day. I think I said on the last episode, and I can't remember, there was an agent who had closed. She recently spoke at an event I was at. I'm pretty sure it was like 52 million or something with an average sales price of like 300,000. It was an
Wow.
insane amount. And she only has like it's her and I think maybe two other agents. And she has a spreadsheet and she puts in everyone from her open house. And I will repeat what I just said. Yes, she is still hosting open houses. She said that she asked us this question. She said, if you're sitting in behind your computer or your phone every single day, working and calling people, where are the new people that you're going to sell a house to? Where are you going to meet them? I was like, oh. Well, yes, ma'am. Like I need to get out and remember you're a public figure. So you need to put that regularly, make it a habit to be out and be seen, not just heard, not like just on social media and via phone call and text, like, but be out because then you remind people, oh, you don't even have to call them. Like you see a past client out at an event and you're like, oh, hey, how are you doing? That's a touch.
Mhm. Yeah, I like that a lot. Do you have anything else you want to touch on for these topics for client communication, marketing, and branding? I think all of that is kind of self explanatory, and we've talked about it in previous episodes.
Before we jump on to part four, let's just kind of sum up what we've talked about. We talked about personal habits or excuse me, your morning routine. And to me, my morning routine is very, very personal. And then I get into my business habits after I've mastered my morning routine. It's all about consistency. Consistency is key. Consistency is what's going to break you through, and you're gonna have experience breakthroughs through and in the mundane. I will say that again. You are only going to experience, not only, but mainly going to experience breakthroughs in the mundane, doing the same things over and over and over again. And you're going to be like, this is boring. But guess what, y'all? Boring is sexy. Sexy is in the boring. And that's where you're going to break through. It doesn't sound fun. And I get that. Like, because, right, y'all all got in this industry to have fun and to make friends and to talk to people and to go see pretty houses. But But guys, if you want to break through and go to that next level, get a little boring, you know? Do the same things over and over and over again. Lead follow up is so extremely important. And guys, I have actually let people slip through the cracks. And you know how bad it stings to see them buy a house on social media with another realtor, knowing that you were the one who got them pre-approved, maybe even showed them a house or two. Like, yeah, that kind of sucks. But guess whose fault that is? That's mine. We can blame the client all we want, like, oh my gosh, I'm so mad at them. But like, when are we going to start taking extreme accountability over our own actions or inaction and responsibilities? Because when someone tells us, hey, I have a dream or a goal, it's our job to hold them accountable to that, not anyone else's. And anyone else who does, I hate to say this, but was better than you.
Mm-hmm. And
And
I'll go ahead.
go ahead. No, I'm done.
I'll add to that is also communication. So following up, yes, but then communicating promptly when they reach out to you. Of
Ooh.
course, have boundaries and keep your boundaries when you have, things going on with your children or your morning routine. But if it's during business hours, especially like normal business hours that you would expect 9 to 5, 8 to 5, whatever that looks like, you need to be responding to people and you need to be responding professionally and promptly. That's one thing that will drive a client or a co agent or anybody that you're working with. It will drive them insane if you are not responding in a timely fashion. And I know things happen, you're doing showings, whatever. To the best of your ability, you need to be proactive. You need to either be reaching out or responding quickly, not waiting for someone else to do it or someone else to take the lead. Be proactive and be available.
Oh,
That's
I
all.
100% agree.
Thanks
I
for coming
couldn't.
to my TED Talk.
Yeah, like, are we done now? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Almost, almost. So I think going off of that, so we've talked about the morning routine, we've talked about the business part of your day, kind of that bulk, the important things that you're doing every single day and what habits you're building off of, whatever that looks like for you. And then the evening habits. How are you reflecting and recharging after your day? Every single day. Are you reviewing your day? Are you reflecting on what went well? What could have been done better? Are you journaling? Are you
So
looking at lessons?
I think I've mastered the beginning of my day, and I could use a lot more improving on the end of my day. I think what I do well is I recharge, and I usually, which my phone will be on the counter and it'll be available during emergencies. And yes, I have written an offer during dinner. Don't really like it, but me and my
Mhm.
fiance love to cook
Thanks.
together. And he is a way better cook than I am, but I gotta hold my own weight and know him that like he's can't show me up. I'm a woman. So we get in there. If I'm cooking, of course, he just walks in the kitchen, starts cooking. So I do enjoy that time to recharge. And something I could get better at is ending my day. And I have had an agent told me this is what she does. At the end of her day, if she hasn't gotten to it, she sends herself an email of what all that she needs to do left, and she calls it task. Literally, the subject is task. She emails herself, and it could be like, call Michaela back, write this, write that, write a letter to so and so, whatever. And she closes her laptop and feels accomplished for the day. So a lot of times we leave or end our days thinking, oh my God, the day's work is never done. Like, and I have to tell you, I'm in real estate, you're never gonna be done. Like, while we were on the call, I was thinking, oh gosh, I gotta message this guy back. Like, I gotta schedule this house. Like, there's always gonna be something they have to have done. But to ease your mind a little bit, if you're a very type A person, go ahead and send yourself an email at the end of the day and just say, like, this is what needs to be done. And this is actually the same agent. She does this. She reads all of her messages at the end of the day, or she responds to them. When she gets home, she tries to do it before 8 p.m. because you teach people how to treat you. And if she does it later, they're going to text her later, right? So she will send out text messages, respond to them, even if it is, hey, I'm going to get this tomorrow. It's going to be in her most recent text messages, and she at least responded rather than waiting until the next day and then say, hey, I got your answer. That person went the whole night thinking, well, I guess she won't even respond to me today. So you give them a response that day. Hey, closing out my day. I didn't get to this, but I'll get this to you tomorrow. I just wanted to let you know.
I
And I
really
think
like
that's
that.
important. That goes back to the whole being responsive to customers' needs.
And having boundaries too. If it is something that you physically can't get done in the workday, that's fine. As long as you're communicating, there's parameters for that, right? And I think that kind of goes on the things that I wrote down too, on writing down tomorrow's top priorities before you go to bed. That can be in your email, that can be on your desk, on a to do list, whatever works best for you in particular. But I love that. And then and I wrote on this clears your mind and ensures a productive start to the next day. And I think that's exactly kind of what you just touched on. And I love that. Recharging your mind and body, I think, is really important. Like we talked about with you cooking with your fiance, disconnect from work, spend time with your family, engage in one of your hobbies, do self care, whatever that looks like. I'm a big bubble bath taker. My, my partner knows this. I'm huge when it comes to bubble baths. It's the one thing, if I've had the worst day in the world, if I can get a 30-minute bath and just like put on a TV show and shut off my mind, I'm a different person. I'm completely brand new. I mean, I could do this
I
at three
I
o'clock
do
in the
know that.
afternoon
I
and
have
be
witnessed.
okay.
Yeah, I have witnessed that, and yes, real big bubble bath girl.
Yes. So that's my one thing, and I know that, and that's kind of how I like recharge, recenter. It could be 30 minutes, it could be an hour, whatever it is. That's something that I know I need, and it's a priority in my life. That might not be a priority for you. It might be spending time with your child or whatever, running. Everyone's a little bit different. And then, like you talked about before, prioritizing sleep is so important. And this is something I need to get better at. I mean, I can go to bed at midnight and get up at 5 and just run a day, and I'm miserable. So, managing that a little bit better is something I'm going to be working on.
Guys, I really want you to know what lack of sleep does to your brain, and ages you. Also,
Mhm.
anybody who's afraid of aging. If y'all ever notice the people who, and I'm not, I mean, anybody, everyone likes to drink, let's just be honest, and we're in this business. But those that go out constantly, who just love to stay out, they're more than likely going to be either have to spend some money on aesthetics and or age a lot faster than those who aren't because they are dehydrating themselves and they are staying out late. Sleep is so crucial to your brain, to your skin, to your organs, like literally everything, guys, has to shut off and relax. Even if you want to go really, really hard, I mean, that's great, but please do that from allotted hours. And I mean, everyone's different. Some people can thrive off 6 hours, some people can thrive off 5 hours. Know what you can thrive off of. I'm just not going to lie. I'm definitely a 9 hour girly. I just am.
Same.
I
I
wish my
think,
kid loved sleep as much as I did, but
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not there yet, but whew, I give you props because you're like Superwoman in that regard.
No, 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 no. I have there like I do want you guys to know this that like I'm I know I may sound in this podcast like I have it all together, but I truly don't. There's a lot of areas. Like, I mean, I'm just a very transparent person and I want to teach y'all from my mistakes. Also, I don't want you to make it think that I'm like this woo, everything's perfect kind of person. Don't even ask me how much one of my tenants owes me right now, and I'm going through an eviction process. That I had to talk to an attorney and get pricing on today for him to handle the eviction. That there I can be great at a lot of things and I can be not so great at a lot of things. But I'm gonna tell you right now, going to bed early and waking up early is something that I'm great at that.
I'll be learning from you. I'll be taking notes. And then the last thing, we'll wrap this up. I know it's going a little bit longer than we anticipated, but tools and strategies to stick with your habits. You're really good at these tools, or at least implementing these tools and helping other agents implement these tools. And that would be time blocking, finding accountability partners, and automation and delegation, which I think is one of the best things that you've kind of mastered at this point. But do you want to talk about time blocking first and kind of go over? I know we've talked about it with
Yeah,
business
yeah.
planning, but just very
So
briefly.
so I in your time blocking you can have it paper or digitally, but I have actually found that when I do both it just kind of it's redundant and it wastes a lot of time. So just try and stick with one. I found that my phone works best. You can set an alarm and everything. But blocking out time for your activities, not just your appointments. So I put my activities on my calendar in my phone, and then I treat them as a non-negotiable. So if it's my phone, then I'm going to do lead generation and lead follow-up from 9 to 11. If someone says, hey, can I see a house at 10? I'm like, hey, is there any way you can do 11:30? And
Mhm.
then most times they're like, yeah. oh, if I can't do that, I can do later in the afternoon. You don't really, you have to respect that as an appointment with your business, and you are an employee of your business, and you want to get your work done, right? You want your employees to get the work that you've hired them to do, right? So you need to get your work done. Accountability partners, that's super important. Partner with an agent, a coach, a mentor to stay accountable. And then check in weekly to discuss your wins and challenges. So you don't lose, you win or you learn. And what did you learn this week? What did you win? Hey, I got off track. That's okay. We'll get back on track Monday. The problem is don't beat yourself up and get bogged down if you fallen off track, because guess what? We all have. It's not about falling down, it's about getting up and how fast you can get up. Automation and delegation, email follow-ups. Okay, so there's a thing in Gmail where you can have email templates, and I actually have all those typed out for like a buyer under contract. I typed all those out and then just kind of gave them to my TC, and which is our transaction coordinator, and my assistant, and she handles all of that. Anything that you're going to text a lot, have it saved in your notes, or you could have a pre-text. But you need to have all this stuff typed out, so it helps saves you time, because you type it out one time. Why not go ahead and just save it? And then
Another
delegate
thing with
work.
that too, I'm sorry, is going to
No, go ahead.
be I use Chat GPT a lot, and you know this. If I am at a showing or I'm in the middle of a training or something really important is going on, but I have a second to access my phone, I will type in a quick response that I want to respond to these people, and I can ask it to make it more professional or more detailed or any of these different things. It takes a minute of your time. Type it in, it'll create a better response, and then you can copy and paste that and send that over to your clients. That helps me because I don't have an assistant. I don't have a transaction coordinator that is going to go respond to these emails for me. And so if that's you, use ChatGPT. There's a free version and it's great. So that's just finding little things like that. And there's tons of other AI type
There's like an AI for everything now.
for everything, for your
You,
for your emails, for different browsers, for
You can use AI
anything.
for leverage 100%. Like
Mhm.
AI can be your assistant.
Mhm.
And there's so many things around us that we can use to leverage that you don't have to pay for. Like your calendar, it can set you up an alert. That can be like your assistant, right? So some people's assistant comes and gets them and says, "Hey, it's time for your meeting with Jim. Jim's here." Well, guess what? You can also have that alert set up on your phone that says, "Hey, call Jim." Like,
Mhm.
guys, it's the literally same thing as having an assistant. You just had to put in your calendar, which took only a few seconds.
And we can do a whole episode about that. I did a whole training on how to leverage AI in my business, and so I can bring in
Ooh,
the lender who did that. He's really great, and I learned a lot. So we can make a whole episode about that too down the road.
dude, I love it.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to add on those? I think we're pretty much done with the habits. It's really, these are just kind of a starting point, if you will, and you can build off of this. Add what you want, take away what doesn't work for you or doesn't make sense for you, and go from there. This is kind of just a starting point to get you going for the new year. Is there anything else, Em, you want to add?
The only thing is, sometimes you have bad habits, and just go ahead and cut those bad habits. And they could be scrolling on social media. I know we're all guilty of that. And we hope you guys have a successful, prosperous, and productive, and also joyful 2025, and that you get to live your best life and be your best self.
Yeah, and remember, it starts with one small step. Build on
Yes,
those. They can become bigger steps, but you got to start somewhere. Don't get bogged down by the big picture. Start one thing at a time and go from there. And think about too this week, what's one habit that you can commit to for the next 6 weeks or the next week, and build from there and check in with yourself on those. Doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to start.
I love that.
Okay, well, thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode. We'll be back next week with another exciting episode full of value and good content. So, in the meantime, you can follow us at the Agent Advantage podcast on Instagram. If you have any questions about today's episode or the content, you can email us at theagentadvantagepodcast@gmail.com. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.